My name is Sally Naylor, or Mistress Anne, if you like, and I'm here as a volunteer and guide at Shakespeare Schoolroom and Guildhall. Superstitions and belief in witches, fairies, demons, gnomes and evil spirits was part of everyday life. So was the need to protect your household. There were lots of things they did. Most of them didn't work, but this is an example of a very simple witch's mark. You can see the concentric circles. Now, these were scribed on walls. They could be stone or plaster or wood, but they would be near the big entrances to your house. So windows, doors, chimneys especially. There were lots of different kinds. Some were more convoluted than others. There's one called a Marian mark, and I think that looks as if it could well be. It's like conjoined V's for the Virgin Mary, so to invoke her protection. There were lots that were based on circles, I guess because they were easy to do. And there's one called a hexafoil, which looks a bit like a circle with a daisy in it. Now, these could be easily mistaken for the general graffiti you can see from here. So in a lot of places, they were just dismissed. But to the delight of a historical interpreter in a large manor in Wales, she has just found hundreds in the house that have been just dismissed. And she's found at least 300 in the attic where the servants would have slept. And some of these can also be scorch marks. Also, some were found in a ruined church, which is in the line of the HS2. They obviously didn't work too well in that case. And they found them and they have now demolished the church. Okay, so you're lucky, you're wealthy, and you have a chimney, which is basically a hole in your house. Now, they believed that evil spirits and the devil could come down the chimney at night when the fire was out and the curfew was placed over the embers. It could come out and wreak havoc in your house. But not if you put a line of salt across the hearth. Now, it was well known that evil spirits couldn't cross a line of salt without counting every single grain. And there were just far too many for them to count before morning and the fire would be lit again. Salt was also used in corners of rooms to banish the monsters lurking in the dark. And that largely died out as lighting improved. And a visitor was telling me that it's still the practice to ring a bed with a line of salt for someone who has recurrent nightmares. And she's familiar with this being practiced in Eastern Europe. So, doors. Now, when you came into this building, you will have noticed fairly large hinges, and they're quite nicely decorated. And if you look at big castles, you have this wonderful lot of iron on the doors. Some of it's bling, some of it's practical, but it's also a defence against evil. The iron is seen as a practical defence. If you couldn't afford all the ironmongery, you just nailed up a horseshoe and that would do instead. Now, you might well have seen articles in the paper or had even found one in your house of a shoe buried in the wall or under the hearth or in the floor generally. They were seen as a symbol of good luck and protection. I mean, we still use shoes on the back of wedding cars. You know, they waltz off down and they've got these shoes. The earliest recorded found shoe was in Winchester Cathedral, behind the choir stalls, and they were installed in 1308. There is an index held by the Northampton Museum, which has a record of 3,000 plus found shoes. They also have a collection of the shoes themselves. The earliest one they hold is from 1540s, and that was found in St John's Chapel, Oxford. Do you have a dairy? You will make sure that you put a large bunch of nettles in a jug by the door, because the dairy troll doesn't like to cross the nettles, and you don't want him going in to sour your cream and curdle everything. You can also wrap your cheeses in young nettle leaves, and this I believe is still done with some cheeses, not necessarily for the same reason. They tried really hard to do something for the various plagues that roamed around the world. There was really nothing that was effective. My favourite deterrent is to hang a dried toad in your window, and that would protect the house. Plague doctors were a bit more practical, and I'm sure you've seen those large masks. They stuffed the beak part of it with fragrant and medicinal herbs, and they also wore waterproof capes, so an early form of PPE perhaps. Now, everyone could get amulets and lucky charms in the market, and I have a hagstone, which is my favourite, which is a stone with a hole in it, and it's very versatile. It will protect me from almost anything, but it's also very good for animals. One thing you could do, apart from keeping your eyes peeled when you go to these old houses to look around, because a lot of these witches' marks will not have been discovered, try and design your own. They don't have to be circular. Have a look online to see the different ones that are there and try and design a different one. I'm sure you can find something that would last for years and give you lots of protection.